Hello and welcome to the 30k channel, a channel dedicated to games set in the Horus Heresy. We are your hosts. I'm David Brains.
I'm James Norman.
And it's good to be back. We have got a Mechanicum Civil War, James.
We do, yeah. Really looking forward to this one. Bit of Legio Cybernetica, bit of Ordo Reductor. Oof. They've always hated each other, so yeah, expect fireworks.
It's good fun. It's good to have the Mechanicum back on the table. I still haven't painted any new units. They are coming, I promise. I'm painting terrain. I'm building Adeptus Titanicus terrain at the moment, so really busy with that. So the Mechanicum taking a bit of a back seat, but there will be new units very soon. James, I love the yellow colour scheme of this Cybernetica.
Really striking, bit different. Turned out really nicely, especially with the sort of Iron Warriors style red, yellow and black striping. Yeah. Really pleased with the way this army looks.
We're going to see this yellow Mechanicum army again soon because James and I are going to set up a large Iron Warriors Mechanicum versus something else, aren't we? So,
yeah, I have to have a think about that one.
Yeah.
Good.
So that'll be nice to get a really big game in at some point in the next month or so, which I know that you're really keen on.
I love the big games, yeah.
I like small Zone Mortalis games.
Yeah, well, both have their attraction.
They do, eh? So we're looking forward to this. The mission we've got for you today is we're set on Mars, just as Mars is coming over to the Heresy. The Raven Guard are visiting the Loyalist Mechanicum to buy some equipment and some stuff from them, and the traitorous Ordo Reductor, this Legio Cybernetica, have decided that now's a good time to strike. So we're fighting over essentially a landing pad where this Thunderhawk has touched down. Yep. I have done a board build video for this battle for this board today, so at the end of the game, please hold on and watch that video. I rebuilt the board about 3 or 4 times. I just couldn't quite decide how I wanted it, but I rationalised it as it's sort of a peninsula, rather than sort of within the main base, so guests can arrive or equipment can be shipped in and shipped out effectively. So that's what we've gone for. I think the battlefield looks all right.
I think it looks fantastic, as usual. Yeah, brilliant. Great job.
Thank you. It'll be all right. I think it'll be quite interesting. There are parts where it's quite open, but because we're playing Vanguard Strike, we're mainly going to be playing over the actual bunker lines and the actual Thunderhawk itself. So there's a lot of line of sight blocking terrain. Yep,
I think that'll help me out. Hopefully, you've got a lot of firepower coming out of those Krios tanks.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem here. There is a lot of firepower coming out. We were going to drop it down to 250, but the list just didn't quite work. So the mission we've gone for though is Onslaught.
Yeah. Interesting one. You've got to push forward and get that objective in your opponent's deployment zone. So hopefully, from my perspective, that will bring these armies closer together, which I think will work in the favour of the Cybernetica today. Yeah,
because you've got a lot of those plasma mortars from the Thanatars are absolutely devastating. They hit the side armour, so they're bypassing the flare shields of the tanks.
Yeah, they are filling my sort of anti-tank role today. I think usually they're famed for really clearing infantry out of cover, but they're pretty decent against tanks as well. So
yeah, and they hit the side armour. Their ordnance choice a bit high, strength 8. They're AP2.
Yeah, AP2. Yeah.
So if you're lucky, and then you'll get rid of all the vehicles in a one shot. I have a ton of Thalax and they are very, very fast, but they're quite squishy, particularly when they come up against Castellax and Analytax.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, and the Domitars as well, I'm hoping, with their strength 10 Graviton hammers, and they've got a bit better in the latest FAQ as well. Yeah. They can now do a bit of haywire at short range, so we'll see. Maybe they can lumber forwards and get at some tanks, but they're still a bit slow, so we'll see.
Yeah, we James and I talked about this before the game started. The Domitars still aren't quite sorted yet, are they?
No, especially for their points. They're quite an expensive unit because their stat line looks so good, but it's quite easy just to steer clear of them. But maybe today's their day. We'll see.
I think they're restricted. Excuse me, I think they're restricted to Zone Mortalis. They come into their own there in the confined space. But again, I think they're too expensive. They're nearly 200 points, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, 175 with no upgrades. So yeah, a lot more than a Castellax, and their long range firepower is just a crack missile at ballistic skill 3. So they're definitely not a long range unit. So yeah, it makes Mechanicum players scratch their head as to exactly how to use them most effectively, I think.
Yeah, they're a bit of a tough one, but you've also got an Arla tax in there, which I think is the perfect machine, really.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, just adding that extra movement. It's just like a Domitar with a jump pack.
Yeah,
and it really makes them a lot better. I wish I had more than one.
They hit really hard as well. So looking forward to that. And then don't forget, you've got the Dominus there. They'll be boosting wounds, and they'll be double firing stuff and adding ballistic skill. So they're a really unique army. I used to run a Cybernetica. Thalax and Castellax and Thalatars, and it either smashed or it got smashed. So
yeah, that's it. You never know what's going to happen with them.
It's true. You've got a bit of variety in here because you've got troops, which is essential for this mission as well.
It is, yeah. It's a shame that Legio Cybernetica, you have to take your Castellax as troops. They're not scoring, but I suppose in Onslaught, it'd be quite unlikely for them to lumber all the way to the other side of the table. But yeah, we've got some Thalax and some Skylax as well, which I'm looking forward to using.
Oh yes, they've got a Rad Engine or Red Furnace on them.
Yeah, that's it. And a lot of attacks, toughness 5. They're quite resilient. But it's interesting to sort of think about how to use them well, because I think they're a combat unit personally. They can take special weapons, but I personally think they excel in combat. So
yeah, really need to see how we go. So we've got a few units we've not seen before: the Skylax, the Arlatex. So we're looking forward to that. We are going to delve into these lists, work out exactly what's in them, and then we'll see at the beginning of turn 1. 2,500 points of Ordo Reductor, led by an Archmagos Prime. The Warlord trait is Master of Mechanisms, which allows a unit to be given the It Will Not Die special rule. Leading the Ordo Reductor is an Archmagos Reductor. He's equipped with melter bombs, a master-crafted melter gun, Jinskine, Cyber Familiar, and 3 Cyber Ocularis. He's also equipped with a Power Axe. In this army, there are 4 units of 6 Thalax. The first 2 cohorts of 6 have 2 multi-melters. They have been upgraded to take melter bombs and have the Destructor upgrade too. The second 2 cohorts of Thalax are identical to the first 2, except they are armed with 2 photon thrusters. There are 3 heavy support choices in this army. The first 2 are 2 units of 2 Cryos Venators, and they have been upgraded to have extra armour. The final heavy support choice for this army is a squadron of 2 Cryos. They have the lightning cannons, and they have been upgraded to take extra armour.
2,500 points of Mechanicum of the Legio Cybernetica. They are using the Legio Cybernetica battle cohort, and they are led by an Archmagos. His warlord trait is Master of the Vanguard. Leading the Legio Cybernetica is an Archmagos Malagra. He has a mastercrafted Paragon Blade, a Cyber Familiar, Rad Grenades, a Cortex Controller, a Machinator Array, and an Abeyant. The second and third HQ choices for this army are 2 Magos Dominus. Both have Power Axes, both have Cyber Familiars, and both have Machinator Arrays, and 1 is mounted in his hovering Abeyant. The Legio Cybernetica have a single elite choice. It's a Domitar class Battle Automata Maniple containing 2 Domitars. The 2 compulsory troops choices for the Legio Cybernetica are both Castellax class Battle Automata Maniples. Both are 2 strong. One has Mauler Pattern Bolt Cannon and the other has Dark Fire Cannon. The third troops choice is a Skylax Guardian Automata Maniple. There are 6 of them and they all have enhanced arrays. The fourth and final troops choice is a Thalax cohort. There are 6 of them. They have the Destructor special rule, and all of them have melter bombs. The Legio Cybernetica have a single fast attack choice. It is an Arlatax class battle automata with an arc scourge. The 2 heavy support choices are single Thanatars with their Helix plasma mortars.
That's it. Both Mechanicum forces have deployed. Legio Cybernetica versus Ordo Reductor. I have to say, visually, I think it looks fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah. The variation of the colours, the Thunderhawk in the middle of the table, yeah, looks great.
What an epic battlefield to fight over. You know, we're playing the Onslaught mission, so we both deployed. We both rather put down our objectives that we've got to get to at the end of the game. They're worth 5 points if we can get a scoring unit in there. We've got Slay the Warlord, there's Attrition, and then there's a thing called Onslaught Attack or something like that. So if you if a unit gets killed in the first turn, then you score a point, or if you kill a unit rather. Yeah. So there's a lot to play for. James won the Valve to go first. He deployed first and is going first. I want to seize because I want to try and take down a Thanatar in the first turn, because if I don't, then they are going to obliterate my tank. So we'll have a go. But James, firstly, good luck to you.
Good luck, mate.
Really looking forward to this. I appreciate you can't see the dice.
Oh.
And a roll of 4. So it is Legio Cybernetica, turn 1.
Legio Cybernetica movement phase, turn 1, and the entire Cybernetica line has rumbled forward. Starting on the left, we have 2 Castellax. They've moved up. They're preparing shots with their Darkfire cannon. To their right, the Thalax have moved forward towards the Thunderhawk. Meanwhile, overhead, the Arlatax has leapt forward 12 inches, taking cover in the shadow of the Thunderhawk gunship. The Archmagos has led his Skylax forwards. The other Magos Dominus has led forwards the Domitars, and far over on the other flank we have another cohort of Castellax who have also moved up. The only Cybernetica units that have held position are the 2 Thanatars. They are getting ready to open fire. Legio Cybernetica shooting phase, turn 1, and the phase has opened badly as the Magos Dominus with the Thanatars tried to use the rites of destruction on one of them, but failed with the roll of an 11. They're going to open fire anyway, but they will only have 1 shot. The disappointment continues for the Legio Cybernetica. Despite both Thanatars managed to land their plasma shots on top of these Krios Venators, neither managed to penetrate the side armour of the tanks. At the far end of the Cybernetica line, the 2 Castellax with Darkfire cannon opened fire on one of the Krios Venators. They managed a single glancing hit. Meanwhile, the Archmagos is not very happy at the fact that his Automata's fire is doing so little. He's ordered all of the rest of his army to surge forward. They all have, using his Master of the Vanguard Warlord trait, adding 1 to their run moves, and they have all moved up, ready to get to grips with the Ordo Reductor in later turns. Final act of Legio Cybernetica turn 1 is their Thalax. They have thrusted forwards. They're moving up in support of the Arlatax. Overall, not a particularly effective first turn from the Legio Cybernetica, but at least they have closed the distance.
Ordo Reductor turn 1 movement. I think I escaped very lightly from those Thanatars. So my plan is to deal with them, but not till perhaps turn 2, turn 3. But on the right-hand side flank here, the Thalax with the Photon Thruster have moved to get a bead on those Castellax. They are supported by the 2 Krios Venator. I would love to take one of those out this turn. The Thalax on top of the landing pad has moved forward. Now, I know there's an Arlatax on the other side, and that will be jumping over the Thunderhawk and charging. But my plan is to screen the Krios tanks with the Thalax there. They will use their thrust move in the assault phase after shooting, just to protect the Krios behind them. I'm pretty confident I can tie that Arlatax up for a little bit. The Cryos have moved into a position to put some shots downrange onto those two Domitars. The Magos has moved forward with his 6 Thalax cohort. They are going to target either the Domitar, the Warlord, or the 2 Castellax. The Venator have moved forward. They are going after that onslaught attack to kill the Warlord in the first turn. That's worth an extra victory point. James did have a go to in his first turn with the Thanatar to try and take out the Cryos, but failed, thankfully. The Thalax cohort on the left-hand side have just popped round. They're going to put some rounds down on those Castellax. And again, they are going to act as a screen for the Venators. I need the Venators. That's where my firepower of the army is. Let's see what we can do. Ordo Reductor, turn 1 shooting. The Thalax on the left-hand side here were out of range for the lightning guns, but the photon thrusters were in range. The one on the left fired, got 2 hits, but failed to wound the Castellax. But the one on the right rolled 2 1s, so 2 gets hot, but their armor save helping them out. So no wounds or damage caused from that unit. It's a little bit unfortunate. Next to shoot was the Cryos Venator. They also targeted the Castellax and did a far better job. 8 shots went out, got 6 hits and 6 wounds, which was brilliant. James made 2 of the saves, but 4 went through, and it was enough to kill a Castellax. It didn't explode, which was great, but that certainly takes the pressure off on this side. So good work there from the Venator. The Thalax on the landing pad opened up with 2 multi-melters into the Domitar across the way from them. 2 shots went out, 1 hit, 1 wound, and James failed his invulnerable save. I'd like to whittle that unit down, because if they get to me, they are going to cause me a lot of problems. But James will no doubt use the Rite of Eternity in his Cybernetica to heal wounds on the Battle Automata. That's the beauty of the Legio Cybernetica. But we're chipping them away. Let's see what happens. The Cryos Venator then opened up on the Legio Cybernetica Warlord. I got really unlucky here. I passed the +1 ballistic skill from the Cyber Ocularis onto the unit there. 8 shots went out, but I rolled 4 1s, which was absolutely bonkers. So I only got 4 hits. Did get 4 wounds though. James has a 3-up invulnerable save, and he failed 2 of them. So 2 wounds have been put on the Warlord. It would have been nice to pip him out in the first turn, but that's fine. He does have it will not die, so we'll see if he can regain any wounds. There was an argument for targeting the Castellax in front of me, but I'm going to tie them up with some Thalax, hopefully. The Thalax on the left-hand side here opened up with a lightning gun and a multi-melter into the Castellax that are walking through that damaged wall section there. Both hit, which was brilliant. The multi-melter wounded, as did the lightning gun, and that got a rending hit, which was brilliant. James failed his 5-up invulnerable save and put 2 wounds on that Castellax. I now need to kill the final one, so it will stop him from regaining wounds in the following turn. Next to fire is this unit of Thalax. The Thalax here next to the Cryos Venator opened up with 2 lightning guns and 4 photon thruster shots into the Castellax. Only got 1 hit of each weapon profile, which was a real shame. But they both failed to wound, so not the best there. James will no doubt start to heal wounds on the Battle Automata, which is not ideal. The final unit to shoot is the Cryos Battle Tanks, and I think I'm going to go and target the Domitar. The Cryos Battle Tanks opened up onto the Domitar, but unfortunately, due to a bit of bad moving on my part, this Cryos was out of line of sight of any units. But this Cryos opened up, targeted the Domitar. It did scatter 5 inches, but it clipped the lead Domitar and managed to cause a wound, which is brilliant news. All that will do now is that will force James to decide whether he's firing twice with the Thanatars or trying the Cybernetica, or if he's going to heal wounds. So it might save my bacon in following turns. All that's remained to do now is I'm going to do the thrust moves in the assault phase for the Thalax. Ordo Reductor, turn 1 assault phase. All that was left to do was the thrust moves on the Thalax. So this Thalax here just moved 5 inches with their thrust move. Just take them out of line of sight. James will have to make a decision if he wants to go for them or not. I doubt the Thanatar will be targeting them, as there's far better targets to look at. The Cybocularis, they have all moved a reasonable distance, 7 to 9 inches, depending on where they were on the board. But they did a great job of just nestling in behind the tanks. We'll use their boosted ballistic skill, hopefully, in the next following turns. On the right-hand side here, this unit moved 4 inches towards that Castellax. Less of a threat now, there's only one. The Thalax on the landing pad spread out because they are going to receive the charge from the Arlatax, but they are just protecting the tanks behind them. And finally, the Magos and his unit, they just shuffled around to mitigate any scattering from those firing Thanatars. On the whole, definitely put a few wounds on the Legio Cybernetica force, but they have no means been blunted.
Legio Cybernetica movement phase turn 2, and the Archmagos has hatched a plan. The Arlatax has leapt over the Thunderhawk and managed to get himself a 7-inch charge on these Krios Venators, but the Warlord himself has moved within 12 inches, and he has Master of the Vanguard as his Warlord trait. That will give the Arlatax +1 to his charge. The Thalax and the Warlord and his Skylax are moving up in support, as is the lone surviving Castellax over on this flank. The Thanatars have once again held position. They're getting ready to give fire, and in front of them the Domitars and the other Archmagos Dominus have stomped forwards. And on the right flank we have another ambitious charge, as these two Castellax that were damaged by the Ordo Reductor shooting last term have managed to get themselves at least a possible charge on the other Krios Venators. This could be a very interesting turn. Legio Cybernetica shooting phase turn 2, and the Thalax, the 3 Thalax that were in range, open fire with their lightning guns, managing to cause a wound on the opposing Thalax, and another of the Ordo Reductor's Thalax has been wounded by a shot from the Castellax and his Darkfire cannon. Unlike turn 1, this Magos Reductor managed to get his Cybertheurgy power off successfully on one of the Thanatars. It was the Rite of Destruction giving the Thanatar 2 shots, and the Thanatar made the most of it, managing to get 2 penetrating hits on the tanks of this Krios Venator squadron, and he followed that up with 2 6s, exploding both of them. That was amazing. And he also managed to cause a wound on the Thalax as well. The other Thanatar opened fire with his plasma mortar, managing to land on these Thalax, accompanied by the Archmagos, managing to do another 2 wounds to the squad. The Castellax, who were going to charge the Krios Venators, decided to adjust their targets. They opened fire instead with their Mauler bolt cannons on these Thalax, but they were really unfortunate. They only managed 2 hits out of 6 shots, and neither of those hits wounded. There was a lot of 2s rolled there, but they did manage to do a couple of wounds with their bolt guns. The Magos Dominus, accompanying the Domitar, managed to successfully summon the powers of Cybertheurgy, the Rite of Eternity, healing a wound on the lead Domitar. The final act of the Legio Cybernetica's second shooting phase was for the Domitars to fire a pair of crack missiles into the Thalax across the plaza. They only managed 1 hit and rolled a 1-2 wound, so no damage caused. Legio Cybernetica assault phase turn 2, and the Arlatax did not need the Archmagos' help from his Warlord trait, rolling an 11 and easily making his charge into these 2 Krios tanks. The Cybernetica are on the rampage. The Arlatax crashed into the Krios Venators, flailing with his Arc Scourge, giving him armor bane, allowing him to destroy one of the Ordo Reductor tanks. And the final action of the Legio Cybernetica's second turn was their own Thalax, moving forward 10 inches with a thrust move. That was not a bad turn for the Legio Cybernetica. They may have seized the initiative. Let's see how the Ordo Reductor respond.
Ordo Reductor, turn 2 movement. What an amazing turn the Legio Cybernetica had that turn. Taking out those 2 Venators, they were key to my army. Getting a double 6 on the penetration roll with an AP2 weapon was absolutely devastating. So to that end, we're going to have to blunt the Legio Cybernetica attack. The Thalax unit here have moved into a position where they will either target the Arlatax or the Thalax. There is no doubt that if the Arlatax is alive at the end of this turn, it will wreck another Venator, which I do not need. The Venator has moved away ever so slightly to get its 4 Strength 9 AP2 shots on that Arlatax. The Thalax behind, they have moved in position again to either attack the Thalax or the Arlatax. The Krios have moved into a position to target the Domitar. The Magos and his squad of Thalax have moved to take on this squad of Castellax. Both units here at this end of the table have done that. They need to clear these Castellax out, and then they will then either move on to the Domitar or the Thanatars, because they are causing a bit of a problem. There's a lot to play for in this turn, so let's see what happens. Ordo Reductor, turn 2 shooting. The Archmagos Reductor passed +1 ballistic skill onto the Cryos Venator via the Cyber Ocularis and Jinskine. 4 shots went into the Arlatax, 4 hits, 4 wounds, but James made 3 invulnerable saves, which was absolutely amazing, only causing 1 wound. That now means that the Thalax behind him will have to divert their firepower and hopefully or possibly charge him in this turn. The Thalax cohort with the photon thrusters were going to open up onto the Arlatax, but their shots are only strength 6 from the photon thrusters, so I thought it better to put them into the Thalax in front of them. So the 2 multi-melters from this squad here on the landing pad opened up into the Arlatax. 2 multi-melters, got 2 hits and 1 wound, which reduced the Arlatax down to 2. The remaining lightning guns then opened up, got 4 hits, 2 wounds, and James failed 1. So the Arlatax is on 1 wound. It will now rely on a charge to tie up and finish it off, hopefully. The Thalax cohort with photon thrusters opened up into the Thalax in front of them. One of the photon thrusters hit twice and caused a wound, but the other one got a double 1, so it got hot, and the Thalax took a wound, which is a bit of a shame. After the lightning guns were shot, the lead Thalax from the Legio Cybernetica was killed. The 2 Cryos tanks opened up onto the Domitars in front of them, managed to score 3 hits in total, 1 just scattering off ever so slightly. 3 wounds caused, but James made 3 amazing invulnerable saves, so no damage caused on that Domitar unit. That was a big fail. The Thalax cohort on the right-hand side opened up into the Castellax in front of them. Not an amazing round of shooting. After 4 photon thruster shots and 4 lightning gun shots, only 1 wound was caused on the Castellax in front of them. James did make some amazing invulnerable saves. The Thalax cohort on the left-hand side here had a terrible round of shooting. 4 lightning guns went in, 1 hit, 1 wound, but the armor was made. And then finally, the 2 multi-melters went in, 1 hit out of the 2 shots and 1 wound and got through. So the Castellax on the rear is down to 3 wounds. Down to 1 wound rather. And the lead Castellax is down to 3. So I am going to charge both units in. We've got Ferox, but we've also got Melter Bombs as well. So we'll have to work out which statistically is the best one to attack with. On the whole, a very terrible turn of shooting for the Ordo Reductor. It seems that we're going to have to rely on combat of Thalax and Melter Bombs to bail us out. Ordo Reductor turned to assault phase. Made some really good charges this turn. So starting on the left-hand flank here, both units of Thalax charged the Castellax. The squad on the left took the overwatch, but only took a wound going in, which was fine. Then on the right-hand side, the Thalax cohort on top of the landing pad made the charge into the Arlatax, which was brilliant news. And then finally, the Thalax from the Ordo Reductor charged the Thalax from the Legio Cybernetica with a whopping 11-inch charge. The Thalax might have the edge here. We've got Melter Bombs and we have Ferox, which should give us a bucket load of attacks with Rending. So let's see what happens. Combat on the left-hand side here went reasonably well for the Thalax. Each unit had 24 attacks, which was really good. So 2 base, +1 for charging, then +1 for rage as well. So 4 attacks. And because they were Ferox, they were wounding on 6s, but 6s were Rending, which was fantastic news. So I got through about 15 hits went in and caused 8 wounds. And it was just enough to finish one of the Castellax off and reduce one down to 1 wound. James did elect to smash, so at least if he wounds, he's killing a Thalax outright. But also Initiative 1, I have the Magos with a Power Axe. At Initiative 1, the Castellax went for a smash attack. It failed to hit the Thalax, which was good news. The Magos then went in with his Power Axe,
but he got 2 hits but failed to wound. The Castellax are fearless because they're still within Legio's Cybernetica Cortex range. So the combat continues. I think that was a good result though for the Ordo Reductor. I'm just a bit worried now about the Domitar coming in the next turn, so we'll have to see what happens. Combat between the Thalax cohort and the Arlatax. The Arlatax struck first with his Arc Scourge with 4 attacks, got 3 hits and 3 wounds, killing a Thalax. My Feel No Pain was terrible. I now get to attack back. Initiative 1, the Thalax clamped their Melter Bombs to the Arlatax, getting 4 hits and 4 wounds, and it was just too much for the Arlatax to handle, and it was destroyed in combat, which is really good news. The Thalax then consolidated 6 inches to inevitably support their fellow cohorts in the next turn, or maybe target that lone Castellax. We have one final combat, which is Thalax on Thalax. The Legio Cybernetica Thalax attacked first. They had 10 attacks, 5 of which hit, and they put 3 wounds onto the Thalax in the front there. I saved 2 of them, but 1 went through, so that's not too bad. The Thalax will now attack back. Combat between the Ordo Reductor Thalax and the Cybernetica Thalax. Interesting combat. The attacks from the Ordo Reductor had 24 attacks, only 9 hit, which was a real shame. 5 wounds went through, 1 of which was rending. The rending wound was saved by Feel No Pain, and James saved 1 of the normal wounds. That was enough to reduce the Thalax down to 2 wounds. They then lost combat. They failed their leadership test and they fell back. I think it was 11 inches, which was pretty brilliant. But I really wanted to stay in combat, if I'm honest with you. But there you go. The Ordo Reductor Thalax then consolidated 2 inches, so they've just spread out. No doubt they will be taking some firepower from the Thalatars, but don't forget the Magos and his Skylax are just around the corner, so we're quite worried about them. On the whole, not a bad turn. Losing the 2 Venators was an absolute blow to the army, so let's see what the Cybernetica have got next.
Legio Cybernetica movement phase, turn 3, and the Thalax, who were forced back last turn, have managed to rally. Meanwhile, across the top of the landing pad, the Arch Magos is leading forward his Skylax. He is eyeing up the Ordo Reductor Thalax, and he has the support of the last Castellax, who is moving forwards. Meanwhile, one Thanatar has held position. We are hoping to use Cybertheurgy to give him 2 shots this turn. The one that cannot fire because he used Cybertheurgy last turn has moved forward a bit, and he has been joined by the other Arch Magos Dominus who has left the Domitars, who are moving forwards to charge in to help this beleaguered Castellax. Legio Cybernetica shooting phase, turn 2, and once again the Rite of Destruction was put onto one of the Thanatars, the one that could still fire successfully. He managed to land a single hit onto the Ordo Reductor's Krios Venator, but only managed a glance. The other Magos Dominus attempted to use the Rite of Eternity on the Domitars that have just left him, but he failed with a roll of an 11. The recently rallied Thalax, they ran into cover near the objective in their own deployment zone. Meanwhile, both the Arch Magos and the lone Castellax have decided not to shoot. They want to charge in. The Castellax does not want to risk overheating his Darkfire cannon. Legio Cybernetica assault phase, turn 3, and both the Arch Magos and his Skylax bodyguard and the lone Castellax easily made their charge into the Ordo Reductor Thalax, and they took no hits at all from the Thalax's Overwatch. And over the other side of the landing installation, the 2 Domitars bulled their way into another squad of the Ordo Reductor's Thalax. They managed to inflict 1 wound with their Hammer of Wrath. The Castellax struck first against the Ordo Reductor Thalax, managed to inflict a single wound with a blow from his fists. Then the Arch Magos Malagra managed to cut one Thalax down with a sweep of his Paragon Blade and wound another. The Thalax then struck back. They managed to get a lot of hits, but unbelievably only a single wound. And that wound did go through, but not much consolation. That was unlucky from the Ordo Reductor, and the Skylax now get to strike using Dismemberment. The Skylax, using the Dismemberment attack, from their Mechadendrite combat array have torn apart 4 Thalax, instant killing them because dismemberment takes them up to strength 7, AP 2. They have rad furnaces, which reduce the Thalax toughness to 4, and the rad grenades on the Arch Magos Malagra took the toughness of the Thalax down to 3, so it was instant killing. There's 1 Thalax remaining. Let's see if his nerve holds. Just before the end of the combat, the Arch Magos struck with his Machinator array, managing to do another 2 wounds to the last Thalax, leaving him on 1, but this Thalax has decided to hold firm. That's a very lucky result for the Legio Cybernetica, protecting them from a lot of incoming firepower. The Domitars brutally smashed into the squad of Thalax from behind, flattening 5 of them with instant death hits from their strength 10 graviton hammers, but there is 1 survivor, still locked in combat with the Castellax. The beleaguered Castellax swung twice with his fists, only managing a single hit, and rolled a 1-2 wound. At Initiative 1, the Ordo Reductor Thalax desperately tried to clamp their melter bombs onto the Castellax. With dreadful luck, they only managed to hit with 1, which failed to wound, and then the Arch Magos stepped forward with his power axe. He got 2 hits, but no wounds. The Legio Cybernetica Castellax survives with 1 wound, and he has the Domitars who have piled in support. That is a disaster for the Ordo Reductor, and that has been such an unlucky turn for them. Let's see what they can do as we go into their 3rd turn.
Ordo Reductor, turn 3 movement. Wow, what a turn from the Legio Cybernetica. They had an amazing turn, killing that squad of Thalax there to a single model with 1 wound was absolutely devastating. To that end, we're going to try and put as much distance from that unit as possible. The problem we've got is that they will win that combat this turn and then consolidate onto their objective in the next turn. So I've tried to put some distance between my units and them so I can take some shots in the next turn. This Venator will try and target the Thanatar and these 2 Cryos. 1 cannot get a line of sight, but we're going to have a go either at the Thalax or the Thanatars, but we're in a bit of a bleak situation at the moment. Ordo Reductor, turn 3 shooting. The Cryos Venator opened up at the Thanatar, got 3 hits, which was great, and 2 wounds, AP2, but James made both of the 6-up invulnerable saves. Unbelievable. The Cryos Battle Tank then opened up with its strength 7 rending blast. It scattered, but still clipped the Thanatar and managed to put a wound on 1 of the Thalax as well, which was great. And finally, James failed an invulnerable save, so that Thanatar has 1 wound. It honestly doesn't really matter because it will probably be healed in the next turn. I was hoping to pull it down, but it did not work. Ordo Reductor, turn 3 assault phase. Combat between the lone Thalax and the Malagra, Magos Prime, the Skylax, and the Castellax ended fairly predictably. The Magos Prime cutting down the Thalax with 1 wound. They consolidated further towards the Reductor's lines and the objective marker, which is that black hexagon there. The Thalax made an impressive 1-inch run move, but they did make an 11-inch thrust move, so that was really helpful. They've moved into the center of the board. They need to stay away from that unit behind them, because if they reach them again, then it's good night, sweetheart again. And then the only thing to do in this turn is to resolve this combat on the left-hand side. The Domitar started combat on the left-hand side here. They were only in contact with the 1 Thalax, thank goodness, which they promptly destroyed with 1 swing of their fists, or their graviton hammers. So good result for them. Then the Castellax struck back against the Thalax. 2 hits. 1 went through, but I passed a feel no pain, which was great news. So no wounds dealt to the Thalax. At Initiative 1, 7 melter bombs went into the Castellax and took its final wound. It didn't explode as it died, so that's good news. A little bit worried now because in the next turn, the Cybernetica Mechanicum will probably charge that unit of Thalax that's right in front of them. So their graviton hammers at strength 10 will instant death them. So a bit of bad news there. All we can do now is brace and hope for some luck.
Legio Cybernetica movement phase turn 4, and the Arch Magos is leading his Skylax round. the side of the Thunderhawk, he has spied the other Thalax, and they are looking to charge. They still have the supporting fire of the lone Castellax all the way back over on that flank. Meanwhile, on the other side of the landing pad, the Legio Cybernetica Thalax, they have just consolidated their position on their own objective. They are just trying to stay in cover until they can come up with a plan. Meanwhile, the two Magos Dominus at the back and the two Thanatars, they're holding position as well. One can fire this turn. We're expecting a rite of destruction from one of the Magos. And the other one can possibly put a rite of fury onto one of the Domitars who have shifted into position to charge the Reductor Magos and his Thalax. Legio Cybernetica shooting phase turn 2, and the two Magos Dominus are not doing a very good job. Both of them failed their Cyberthurgy attempts, so the Thanatar does not have the Rite of Destruction, and the Domitars do not have the Rite of Fury. Very high rolling isn't always ideal. The one Thanatar that could still fire this turn fired his Helix Plasma Mortar, but he managed to land it perfectly in the gap between the Krios Venator and the Krios Battle Tank. It did hit the Cyber Ocularis, but a 1 was rolled to wound. The Domitars opened fire with Graviton waves from their Graviton hammers, causing 11 hits on the Magos and his Thalax, but it was relatively easy for them to roll under their strength. Only 1 wound was taken, and it's been taken on the Archmagos. The Domitars then opened fire with their missile launchers. They managed 2 misses. Legio Cybernetica assault phase turn 4, and the Domitars made their charge into the Magos Reductor and his Thalax, taking no damage from the Overwatch, but inflicting no damage with their Hammer of Wrath. And the Archmagos Malagra and his Skylax also managed to make their charge. Thanks again to Master of the Vanguard. The Ordo Reductor Thalax managed to inflict a single wound on Overwatch. The Archmagos Malagra went in 4 attacks with his Mastercrafted Paragon Blade and managed no hits, even with the reroll. The Ordo Reductor's Ferox Thalax struck back. They managed to do a normal wound, which went through, and a rending wound. That meant 1 Skylax was destroyed. The Skylax struck back using Dismemberment once again, but they only managed a single hit, and that was a single Thalax destroyed. That is a very poor performance from the Archmagos Malagra and his Skylax. The Thalax have held. That might not be such a bad thing, though. At least they won't be shot at by all the Krios tanks in the Ordo Reductor's next turn. The Domitars, they swung in with 8 attacks. They managed to get 5 hits and 3 wounds, strength 10, AP 2. The Magos Reductor decided to try and tank them on his 3+ invulnerable, but the last one got through, instant killing him. That is a Warlord kill, but maybe his sacrifice won't be in vain as his Thalax prepare to strike back with their Melter Bombs. The Thalax managed to place a couple of Melter Bombs on one of the Domitars, causing a couple of wounds, which was a good result, but then they failed their morale check and they have fallen back 9 inches. They did manage to luckily escape the clutches of the pursuing Domitars, who have consolidated 6 inches.
Ordo Reductor turn 4 movement. We were lucky there with the Thalax. We passed the leadership test, and they moved 3 inches to just move out of the way and make way for the Krios and the Krios Venator to line up a shot on those 2 Domitar. The combat still continues between the Thalax and the Archmagos Prime with his Skylax Automata bodyguard. The teeth have been pulled out of that unit now. They are not getting their instant death, so that might keep that unit alive for the rest of the game. But we shall see. It's all about the murderous strike on that Paragon Blade. Other than that, we're just trying to limit as much damage as possible. Ordo Reductor turn 4 shooting. The photon thrusters opened up into the Domitars in front of them. All of the shots missed, but the Thalax that had 2 wounds on him, his weapon got hot and he was unable to make the save, and it killed himself. So that's not a good start. The remaining 4 lightning guns then opened up into the Domitars with their snapshots, but failed to cause any hits. The 2 Krios battle tanks opened up with their Strike 7 rending shots into the Domitars. 1 completely missed, but 1 did hit the 2 Domitars, but scattered slightly into the Thalax, causing a wound on one of them. but it was enough to kill the remaining Domitar with 1 wound left, so that was good news. Unfortunately, now I know the Venator doesn't have a target. Bit of a silly movement from my part. Ordo Reductor, turn 4 assault phase. Striking initiative 4, the Archmagus Prime went in with his Paragon Blade, got 1 hit and 1 murderous strike, and that was enough to kill a Thalax outright. The Thalax then struck back with 6 attacks, getting 3 hits and 1 wound, but the wound was saved from the Skylax Automata. At initiative 1, the Skylax Automata then went in with their dismemberment attacks. They got 4 hits and 3 wounds. The Thalax then failed their Feel No Pain, so it was enough to kill another Thalax. The Machinator Ray from the Magos Prime then attacked, but missed with its 2 attacks. The Thalax have lost combat, but they passed their leadership test thanks to being stubborn.
Legio Cybernetica, movement phase, turn 5, and this lone Castellax is continuing his advance. He's managed to get his Darkfire Cannon in range of a side shot on one of the Ordo Reductor Krios tanks. The Archmagos and his Skylax are still locked in assault, and the Thalax and the Thanatars back in the Legio Cybernetica deployment zone. They're held position to secure their own objective. It's only the Domitar that is pressing forward with the attack. He has moved to within an inch of the Thalax to try and take them out. Legio Cybernetica shooting phase, turn 5, and the Magos Dominus once again managed to successfully put the Rite of Destruction on the Thanatar that could fire, allowing him to fire 2 shots, and that did prove crucial since he got 2 hits on the last surviving Krios Venator. One was a glance, one was a pen, but it took the tank's last 2 hull points, destroying it. That was a good result. Unfortunately, the other Magos Dominus failed in his Cyberthurgy attempt to heal the Thanatar he has joined. The only other act of the Legio Cybernetica shooting phase was the lone Castellax opening fire with his Darkfire Cannon at the distant Krios battle tanks. Unfortunately, it overheated, wounding the Castellax, and the one shot that did hit did nothing. Preparing to charge, the Domitar unleashed the Graviton Wave from his Graviton Hammers, but that did nothing to the Thalax, and he once again missed with a crack missile from his missile launcher. Legio Cybernetica assault phase, turn 5, and the Domitar made his charge into the Thalax, wounding one of them with his Hammer of Wrath, but he took a wound in return from an overwatching shot from a lightning gun. The Domitar waded in with his Graviton Hammers, but the Overwatch shot that damaged him obviously damaged his targeting systems. 4 attacks and 4 misses. The Thalax have a good chance here with their Melter Bombs. The Thalax struck back with their Melter Bombs. They got 4 hits and 3 wounds, giving them a chance to take out the Domitar, but he made 2 of his saves, only sustaining a single wound. That was a lucky escape for him after a disastrous round of attacks. That means it's a drawn combat, and it will continue. The Archmagos' Paragon Blade and the dismemberment attack of the Skylax and the Archmagos' Machinator Ray managed to take out one Thalax and leave the last one on a single wound. The Thalax struck back, doing nothing, but he has once again held morale, and they remain locked.
Ordo Reductor turn 5 movement. A little bit disappointed not to have taken the Domitar out. He only had a couple of wounds, 3 wounds, which is a bit of a shame. All those Melter Bombs. Anyway, the Krios battle tanks have moved forward. Our plan is to try and clip the Castellax and the Thanatars. You never know what will happen. And then finally, we'll go into the assault phase, where hopefully the Thalax can do the business. Although it is the wrong turn for them to do it, as they would inevitably be shot at by the Thanatar. But we're going to give it a go. Ordo Reductor, turn 5 shooting. The Krios tanks targeted the Thanatar. It was the only model they could see because the Thalax are nestled down behind that landing pad. Got 2 direct hits, which clipped the Magos Dominus and the Thanatar. Got 3 wounds, but James made 2 invulnerable saves, so they got 2 rendings come through. So 2 saves there, amazing, and then saved his 2 up armor. So not too successful. Starting with the Domitar in combat with the Thalax, he went in with 3 attacks, 2 hits, and killed 2 of the Thalax. the Thalax will now strike back with 3 melter bombs, hoping to secure this combat. At initiative step 1, the Thalax went in with their melter bombs, but it just wasn't to be. Got 3 hits, which was great, but only 1 melter bomb managed to cause any damage, leaving the Domitar on 1 wound. In a way, though, that's good because at least they can't be shot at in the next turn, but it does mean they stand the chance of losing the rest of the squad in the following turn, so not ideal. Now we'll go on to the combat between the Magos, the Skylax, and the Thalax. I think it's going to end badly. Predictably, the combat between the lone Thalax with 1 wound remaining and the Archmagos Prime and the Skylax Automata ended predictably, wiping out the final Thalax. The Thalax failed to cause any wounds. The unit then consolidated 5 inches onto their objective, securing them 5 points. I'm going to have an amazing round of shooting from 2 tanks to wipe that unit out, which I doubt will happen. But anyway, we will see what happens as we go into Legio Cybernetica turn 6, final turn.
Legio Cybernetica 6th and final movement phase. The Archmagos and his Skylax have just shuffled about. He is going to try to shield them while they score the objective. Meanwhile, the last Castellax has come marching around the corner trying to get another shot with his dark fire cannon. The Domitar is still locked in combat, and the Thanatars and the Thalax at the back have held position. The Magos Dominus with them is going to try to use Cybertheurgy once again to heal and to put out some more firepower. Legio Cybernetica shooting phase turn 6, and it started well as both of the Magos managed to pass their Cybertheurgy check, one healing one of the Thanatars and the other one putting the Rite of Destruction on the other, allowing him to have 2 shots. He only managed 1 hit on the Krios battle tank with his plasma mortar, causing a glancing hit. The only other firing was from the lone Castellax, opened fire with his dark fire cannon but missed with a double 2. Legio Cybernetica assault phase turn 6, and with 2 massive blows with his graviton hammers, the Domitar has demolished another 2 Thalax, leaving 1 survivor. But the survivor has a melter bomb and the Domitar only has 1 wound remaining. Will he be able to take out the monstrous battle automata? Unfortunately, with the roll of a 1, the Thalax failed to hit with his melter bomb. That is it. That's all the Legio Cybernetica can do. That was their final turn. Let's see what the Ordo Reductor can do as we go into their 6th and final turn.
Ordo Reductor turn 6 movement phase, the final movement phase of the game. The Krios battle tanks have moved over. Our plan is to try and kill the Skylax on that objective, preventing them from scoring 5 points at the end of the game. It's a bit of a long shot, but we'll give it a whirl. And then finally, in combat on the end here, I honestly think the Thalax is going to die, but we'll give it a go. Hopefully you can take that final wound. The Krios battle tanks opened up at the Archmagos Prime and his Skylax Automata. 1 scattered completely wide, which is a bit of a shame, but the other one hit dead on. It put a wound on the Magos and killed 2 Skylax, but it just wasn't enough to push them off the objectives. It was a bit of a shame. So the Legio Cybernetica have scored their objective, and then we'll go into combat to see what happens to the lowly Thalax. Ordo Reductor turn 6 assault phase. That is the end of the game. The Thalax didn't even get a chance to plant his melter bomb, with the Domitar hitting 3 times and absolutely pulverizing the Thalax into the ground. It seems that the Legio Cybernetica picks their time perfectly and managed to take hold of the Raven Guard Thunderhawk gunship.
That's it. The Legio Cybernetica has stormed the landing pad of the Ordo Reductor and seized control of the Raven Guard Thunderhawk gunship. Those Raven Guard are not going to be very pleased.
No, well, I'll just have to come and try and get it back.
The Reductor said to the Raven Guard, "Oh, don't worry, we can sort this out, it's no problem." And then all of a sudden I got steamrolled by them.
Yeah, that's it. We were waiting to strike. Yeah.
Unbelievable game. I have to say, this is no excuses. I rolled appallingly, and James, your 6-up 5-up saves, and your penetration rolls were absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I found myself feeling quite bad at many points during the game. It was just so one-sided, the dice, really. It was, I've never known anything like it, really.
It was unreal. When James needed a 6 or a 5-up invulnerable save, he got it.
Yeah.
And the opening shot from the Thanatar into the unit of Cryos tanks.
Yeah, well, the opening shot I thought was par for the course. Turn 1, I managed to get nothing, no onslaught points, and I thought, here we go.
Yeah,
this is not going to go well. And then the Thanatar proved me wrong the next turn. I mean, it was a critical moment in the game. Can't really overstate how critical. 2 penetrating hits and 2 6s taking out the squadron. Because they were going to absolutely tear apart the Domitars, the Castellax, and everything. So this Thanatar, he is a hero.
Absolutely amazing rolls. My face was just like, I could not believe it. But what an amazing job those Thanatars did. I used to run 3 when I had Legio Cybernetica myself, and to face 2 is frightening. So I kind of know how it feels to be on the receiving end.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they are terrifying to play against.
Holy hell!
Yeah, and it seems they're very good at anti-tank as well as.
The great thing about the tanks, the Venices, is they've got a flare shield, and it's -2 for blast coming from the front armor, or the front arc rather. But because they bypass it and go on the side,
yeah, it's barrage.
We're absolutely stuffed, and with the AP2 weaponry, it's if you roll that 6, they're done for.
Or 2. I'm sorry. And again, the assault phase as well. It seems that all the luck was against the Reductor today. Man. Really, the number of melter bombs and rending attacks that the Thalax had. They should have made a lot better progress through the battle automata than they did.
Just couldn't do it.
No, just terrible rolling.
When you need 2s and 3s to wound, I was rolling 1s. It was just unreal. And then they couldn't hit. It was just absolute nightmare. Let's go on to the scores though. They are quite significant.
Yeah.
James managed to secure the Ordo Reductor's deployment zone, scoring them 5 points. They also got attrition because you wiped me down to 1 unit, and you killed the Warlord with the Domitar to the face.
Yes, very satisfying. The Domitars did something.
Yeah, it was good to see them in action.
It was, that's it.
Final scores was 7 to the Legio Cybernetica and 0 to Ordo Reductor. So, wow. Wow. But as James said, it was really great to see those Domitars. They got a bit of a rules update.
Yes, yeah, although I don't think their Haywire Flamers did anything particularly against the Thalax.
No.
But it'd be interesting to see if they could get near some vehicle squadrons, what they could do.
See, this is the thing about the Domitar. You've got to get them in close. There's no delivery system for them, so they just have to walk across the battlefield. They're more cost than a Castellax.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah, and I think Castellax are better than Domitar, but... I think in Zone Mortalis is perhaps where they shine. Maybe.
I've heard they're very good in Zone Mortalis, yeah.
They fill the whole doorway section. You can't get by them.
No.
And they come in with those graviton hammers, and they are brilliant. And those Haywires have been really great for taking out Contemptors in the corridor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I think on the open battlefield, the Arl attacks proved it was a lot more useful. Same price as a Domitar, and just that extra mobility, the ability to strike, leaping over the Thunderhawk was, that was impressive.
You played really well with him. You were so ballsy, just 12 inches in, on the deployment, the Vanguard deployment we got, that you were straight in with him and then jumped over and charged. It was just perfect. It
was, that's it. Yeah, and it really set up the Archmagos to come around the corner with his Skylax as well. But credit to you, to be honest, I might have fled with my Thalax, but to get away from him, because that was a nasty unit with their Rad Furnace, Rad Grenades and all that.
Oh, man. I mean, that unit was brilliant because you were insta-killing Thalax, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's even worse against Astartes, taking their toughness down to 2.
Yeah.
Means all their normal attacks instant kill. They don't even have to use their dismemberment. It can be nasty, but again, they're walking. Same problem the Domitars have, so steer clear.
Yeah, you could put them in a Trios though, but then you don't have the assault vehicle. That's the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
But a really great game. I really hope you enjoyed it. The board was quite spectacular with that big Thunderhawk part right in the middle, and then the two forces fighting over it. So I think the story worked. And
yeah, absolutely. I love a Mechanicum Civil War, especially between the Cybernetica and the Reductor.
Yeah,
there's no love lost.
Absolutely, so. It was really good fun. I really hope you enjoyed the game. There are a load of photos that have been taken, and they will be uploaded to the Facebook page when the game is released. So please go to the Facebook page, have a look. There's obviously an Instagram account as well, which I'm sure if you're watching this video, you'll subscribe to the channel so you know where all the social media are. So please go to those, interact with us. We'd love to hear what you thought about the lists, the board, my terrible luck, and James's amazing luck.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will swing in the favour of myself next time. But really, really great game. James, thank you so much.
Thank you, mate. Excellent time.
I really enjoyed it. And don't forget, these are the additional games that James and I are committed to bringing you, in addition to the 5 games or the 4 games of Horus Heresy and the 1 game of Titanica. So hopefully we've reached our 7 or our 9 total in May or June. So just depending when this game goes out. So I really hope you're enjoying the extra content, and it's absolutely driving value for money for you guys that subscribe. So I really appreciate your support. James and I will see you in the next game. Hey guys, I really hope you've enjoyed that battle report there between James and I. Mechanicum versus Mechanicum. I love a civil war, particularly when Mechanicum's concerned. So really hope you've enjoyed that. Hopefully the loyalist red Mechanicum won, not the traitorous hazard striped Mechanicum, but who knows. As always, I filmed these prior to the game, so I have no idea who's won and who deployed where and who did what. So to that end, this is the board. Now, just to let you know, I've rebuilt this board 4 times already. I just couldn't make up my mind. I really wanted a diagonal board, but squares don't quite fit into a rectangle in the diagonal. It's about 1/2 centimetre to 1 centimetre off in every direction I tried. And then when I did get it to fit, it was kind of lopsided to one side, and I couldn't get the perimeter to start and end in places I wanted to start and end, so it just looked really terrible, and I didn't really want to do that. So I've had to come up with this board now. I really want the landing pad to be the main focus of the game, and it will house a Raven Guard Thunderhawk. We've only seen that Thunderhawk once, and that was in a series I'm doing with Alistair, which is Mechanicum vs Sons of Horus, and that features on YouTube. It will go out on the channel, of course, for you guys to watch, but it's more of an intro into Heresy. We started at small points, then we're working up to 3k. So you guys that watch the channel, you know what you're doing, so you don't really need to be babied through how to play Heresy. Although that's not to say they're not fun games to watch, but we do explain a few rules and a bit of a preamble to it. So that's going out on YouTube. So you'll be able to see that. The Thunderhawk there. It's in Zone Mortalis. It's quite an exciting, very story-led mission. It's quite cool. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and reinforce this end as much as possible. I'm going to start by reinforcing here, and then we'll try and get down as far as we can. What I might have to do, depending on how many I've got, I might have to chop back 12 inches of this board. So I think I'll do it now, actually, because I know I haven't got enough. So I'm going to pull these out. It will now put the Thunderhawk right in the centre of the battlefield, and that hopefully means that I will be able to ring the entire part in these reinforced walls. The reason why it's been ringed like that is because I imagine it's part of an FOB or forward operating base maybe, and this Thunderhawk has been put on the outskirts, almost like a peninsula, just to receive cargo or guests that have come in to visit the base. So that's perhaps wiped out on a bit of a limb. I like that because it kind of tells a bit of a story. I was going to go with maybe the Thunderhawk in the corner, then like a small concourse using the Zombitas tiles, and then the warehouse. But then it's kind of a board of 2 halves, isn't it? You've got the built-up area and then you've got nothing. I kind of wanted it to be all the way around just to create a little bit of difference. The only other thing I have to do now, because when you put these down here, the difference in height is quite a lot. So I'm going to have to edge the entire terrain piece here into kitchen tile, and that'll just help bridge that gap. It's quite an acceptable step there. And also as well, when I start to put the sand on the rock, it'll just help feather that in as well, and I use less sand and stuff. So there's a little bit of work to do. I've probably been on this board now for about 2.5 hours. It's way longer than I wanted to spend on it. I hopefully wanted to get this done in an hour, but I just kept changing my mind and stuff didn't work. So I'm going to crack on with it. As I said, I'm just going to ring it in tiles, then the reinforcements, the lines, and then I'm just going to put some scattered terrain in the foreground. So there we go, that's done. I know it's not pretty, and obviously you've got this really weird bit here. I could have filled this bit with cardboard maybe, but I just haven't got any to hand really. I know it sounds absolutely silly, but it is better that it's nice, flat and solid rather than cardboard, which would kind of move a little bit. It's fine the way it is. I'm now going to start ringing the perimeter. I haven't quite got enough, so I'm struggling just to fill out the sections really. Yeah, we're struggling a little bit. Nearly there. It's quite frustrating. I only need about another maybe 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, bit of a shame really. The only thing I can do is pull another 12 inches off this and come that way, but I didn't really want to do that. Might just have to tell a story that it's been heavy bombarded on one side, maybe complete one side entirely, or more or less. That's about right. And then this side might just have to be, you know, it's taken the worst punishment or the worst bombing perhaps. Can use a load of these craters to kind of simulate that the rest of the defence line has been strafed. That's probably the best solution I've got really. What we might do, if I put that in there, that'll just continue the story along. Could do with a smaller one. Let's go find another crater. Oh, there it is, there it is. Just a small one here. Gonna swap that out, stick it in there. Smaller. Just need something here really, just to finish. Just need one more. It's so frustrating. I could use this, and I considered putting it there, but it would throw it off, which is really. I know it's really weird, isn't it? It wouldn't have been that major of a. Maybe if I push that way. It's not quite central. I mean, that's central. I know you probably think I'm being really pedantic about it, but it's really important that it makes a continuous line, in my opinion. What we might do then, I might have another one of these, and then we'll pop that there. Oh, we're still missing one though, aren't we? Oh, it's tricky. I'll have to go and have a think. All I'm trying to do now is just make the board look a little bit interesting. It's hard to imagine at the moment because it's in such a mess. But once the sand goes down and we've got some larger rocks coming out, the whole thing will make sense. The feature of the whole barrel has to be the Thunderhawk, and that will sit pride of place. And then when you get down eye level, you will not be able to see much over on the battlefield either side. these elements help as well, along with the crates. I might put a couple on the outside maybe, and then maybe like a recovery team just kind of grabbing some of the crates. I'm going to bury a couple quite deep, so we'll have a look at that. Maybe the crates here are quite organised, but maybe they need to be scattered, because obviously this is quite a heavily bombed out section, so we might try and make that look a little bit interesting, like so. I'll have a little bit of a play. Might create a bit of a drift here with a lot of the sand. I'll put some pebbles down just to kind of reinforce it, so it's not just pure sand on this. It's got a little bit of structure to it. Other than that, I'm really happy. I'm probably not going to do much here. I had thought about putting a generator here, or maybe going, maybe putting another Zone Mortalis tile here and having the generator section here. I might do that, I'm not too sure yet, but I'm quite happy with the way it is. I think the best thing to do next would be to get the Thunderhawk, see what that looks like, and then reassess. Now, as you saw, the Thunderhawk has sustained a little bit of damage. The feet have fallen off, unfortunately. Haven't got time to pin them this morning, so I'll have to get that done later. I've just popped some dice under there. I don't think you'll see it too much, but that's all right. What else? I think that's pretty much it. I'm just going to make the sort of the terraformer now with all of the rocky elements and the sand and bits and bobs, and eventually it will tie all together. Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it. Right, this is the bit you've all been waiting for, I'm sure. Just going to put a load of stones down. You won't see most of them because they'll be under the sand, but I'm just going to get on with that now. Right, final stage. Really happy with how the board's looking. I was just very, very sparse with the stones, nothing too crazy. But now we're going to absolutely saturate the board in red sand. Be a really nice contrast to the black and the grey, and make it feel like it's on Mars. So, you know, it all makes sense. I had a heart attack for a minute there. I thought I'd lost a whole ton of sand. I had no idea where it was, but it took me about half an hour to find it. But anyway, we've got it now. I'm just going to get on distributing the sand throughout the board. Alright, we're nearly there. As you can see, the board's really taken on its colour now, the red sand. We obviously now need to put some of the sand all over the board, because it would blow over the barriers, of course. The sand and wind know no bounds and all that. So we're just going to sprinkle a little bit all over, just to sort of give it a suggestion, which works quite nicely. You know, you can imagine working out in the desert. You know, the sand must just get absolutely. Anyway, I'm sure there's guys in the forces that watch these videos and know exactly what I'm talking about. Even if you've been on a reasonable beach holiday, you know, you'll know that the sand just get absolutely everywhere. The craters here didn't quite work as well as I'd hoped. Really need an airbrush in here just to blow the various bits and bobs around, but it's not too bad. I quite like it. Yeah, we're nearly there. I'm just going to blow that Thunderhawk off, because it wouldn't have incurred too much sand as it would have landed, and you know. So we're going to might put a little bit on it, but we'll get rid of a majority of it. There we go, just a slight dusting. Sorry about that, my memory card ran out just as I was dusting the top of the Thunderhawk there. All that I did after the camera cut out was that I sieved the remaining sand that I have, I had rather, because it leaves behind these sort of larger, lumpy bits with some small stones. I filtered them out and then just liberally spread them across the board. Just adds a little bit of texture and different colours into the board. And then finally, I added some really fine slate, finely smashed slate, just to this end of the board where the defence line wall has been exploded. And that was it, really. It's fairly open, but I think it tells a really great story. There is a ton of line of sight blocking terrain. There are areas where it is open, but I think we're going to be fighting sort of. I imagine Harrow and Anvil or Shatterstrike again, because it's quite a great deployment. We've both got armour. We've both got high toughness. Well, James has got high toughness. I've got armour. I don't think we need to be worried too much about line of sight, particularly in some areas of boards where it is a little bit more open than others. But certainly through the middle and over one side, there's a ton of terrain to work around. I think it'll be quite exciting. It's going to get fast and furious quite quickly, I think, in this game. I'm sure that James's Thanatars were used to good effect. They can glance the side armour of those Cryos and bypass the flare shield. So they're going to be quite deadly, particularly as they're going to be taking squadrons of 2 as well. But hopefully the Thalax will do a good job. I'm not sure of the mission yet, because obviously we decide that before the game. James hasn't quite arrived yet, so that's it. I really hope you've enjoyed this board build video. I really enjoyed making these. This is certainly the aspect of the hobby that I really enjoy, is the board telling a story and the armies fighting over a really great board. A good board is just as important as your army. Anyway, you guys know all that. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.